Okay, so your presentation was great. It was very fun, actually. It was more focused on the actual final work. So, and during this session, I want to discuss more about your process in design, like what you think about and what you're planning on doing afterwards. So, you three met at ECAL, as you said, and but there must have been other wonderful colleagues as well, right? But other than you three speaking French, what was the key that bonded you three together and decided to work together?
We were friends, that's the first thing. Actually, Greg and I, we were flatmates. So it's we also knew each other from not by work, but also by living together. So it's nice that okay, I can be with this person and it's okay, we don't argue about who's doing the washing up of, cleaning the house.
It's the first step, I think, and also we shared the same taste, and we discovered it during the lesson at school also. So sharing the same languages, that helps a lot to go to the same direction.
I remember we all like simple objects of everyday life, so things that you don't really notice, but they're here. And it's not the case for every designer. Some designers really want to do outstanding, very expensive, very exclusive things, and we wanted to do more everyday simple objects. Also, we really like affordable things, like making things that anybody can buy, maybe even in the supermarket.
Having three founders, what's the benefits of having three of you? Because it should take more time making decisions compared to when you're one.
Not really. Not really. There is, obviously there is for some things it doesn't help to be three, but for creating it's a real benefit, because when you're alone you can decide to do something, but after you have to think a lot, and maybe it takes some time, maybe 1 day or two, to be convinced and to be sure that your idea is okay. As well as our three, when someone has an idea, you immediately have two filters that can help you to see if your idea is good or not.
So it's like 3 times faster.
You have to convince two people. So if you manage to do that, that's a good step. It's like
okay. It seems like you really bond together really well. Yeah? No?
Like sharing, being together for such a long time, it's for sure it's a bit cute.
Actually, I have been a great fan of Big Game, just that I just didn't know until I was doing the research, because I've been using their products at home for years. I just didn't know they did the design. I'm using the Hey laundry basket, and then also the bookshelf that they made for IKEA. And what I love about them is that they're very practical, but at the same time affordable. Somehow they're low-key in design. They also have a very strong presence at home. Was that kind of what you were trying to gain when you were doing those Hey designs?
Yeah, so thanks. It's a very big compliment for us. When somebody says, I didn't know you make that product, but I just liked it. Yeah. That's what we want to do. It's our goal. So many times you see a design object and it's actually, you know that it's a designer, and then when you actually see it, you're a bit disappointed. We want the opposite. We really want to do something that's good for the quality of the object, and then if you want, you can know that somebody designed it, but it's not that important. And what you said about the presence it's a little bit what we were trying to do, because a laundry basket is a very functional object, and for Hey, we wanted to make a laundry basket with the same technique to make regular laundry baskets, cost the same price, but our goal was to just make it nice enough that you can keep it in your living room if you want, that it's not like, this not nice detail.
Okay.
We say that our objects, we want them to be simple and functional and also optimistic, and maybe this is the optimistic side.
Everyday objects, but they're beautiful. You just want it at your home. You can buy it.
I just want to ask you if you noticed when you present an espresso, you put a divider on it. Did you know that it's maybe one of the first objects we designed for an espresso?
Oh, okay. So everybody's using Big Game's work. They just don't know. Specifically, what kind of role do you want your design to play in people's everyday lives? When you said optimistic, do you want it to brighten up people's?
It could be about many things. It could be a little bit more practical, you have a small function and it's a bit clever and that's smart, it's making it more easy. Or it could be just something that's a little bit nicer to look at or a bit more comfortable. The first product that we designed that was really in the supermarkets was a wine bottle, or Switzerland's world's largest wine producer. And there it's not the label, it's really the glass bottle. And this was we really liked this project because nobody buys a wine bottle for the glass bottle. You know, they buy it because they want to drink the wine or they read the label. But it was really very humble. And also it was the first that was really sold in the supermarket. So 10 million bottles every year. So really very, very industrial. You had to think about all the details so it would be possible not only to produce in glass, but also for the factory that's filling the wine, that it has a lot of technical constraints. In the end, the guys, they told us, the producers, they said it's a very handy bottle.
Is that the one that has the cork hanging from the neck?
That's a more recent one, but no, it's a previous.
So that experience really helped you with the next one. I should look up that wine bottle, the first one. So then it seems like you like designing fun things, but also objects that really sneak into daily life. But then that means you have to do research on people's daily lives, and not only Swiss lives, but Korean, Japanese, all like global. How is it done? Do you have a particular process of research?
It's very pragmatic, no? It's like traveling and meeting with people. Once we did a project for Taiwanese hot pot. We went to Taiwan and we ate a lot of hot pots. In the end, we're like, no. Even if it's sometimes difficult to travel because it's a little bit busy with all the teaching as well, but we always try to make time to meet people because you really learn so much from being there and also seeing the factory, the production. Very insightful.
So you're like really into it. Your body is, and you put yourself into these situations. What do you ask when you meet people? What would you ask me or?
First of all, it's experiencing. We try to experience as much of local life as we can. And for instance, last week we were in Germany with a German table manufacturer. And then we started in the restaurant and then we discussed about how it is to, in homes. And then he said, no, but we should get a coffee in my home because then we went to his home, we looked at his kitchen, then we looked at his dog and then at his garden. And you learn so much actually by doing this because you see a lot of details and you understand a lot about everyday life.
So you're basically like researching 24 hours.
Maybe it's a fancy word, research. Experiencing.
That's how a designer lives.
Yeah, maybe we can sell it as research.
Okay, just having fun. Since you've done so many projects, what would you say your standards of a successful project, the ones that you are really satisfied with?
Maybe for a designer, I think if the products stay long on the market, really good achievements.
But that's kind of out of your control. So when you're actually designing the thing,
it's not totally out of our control because when your product is on the market and works well, you have to continue to promote it in one way, and also we continue to work with the producer to make other member of the families. Also continue to live, for example, with the bowl chair, discuss with the producer every year to find new colors, to find also new material that can work, that fit better, that will stay longer. We have to continue when the object is on the market. We have to continue to work on it to make it better and better every year.
Making the lifespan longer by adding.
Yeah, by improving actually, and that's a really, I didn't think about that, but it's a really good point actually, because sometimes you design something, it could always be improved a little bit, and that maybe it comes from Japan because that's very Japanese to take something and improve every time. And for instance, the collection for Karimoku, I think if you buy a chair now, it's very different from the original one because a lot of details have been improved and the way the connection is made based on experience. Even your laundry basket, it was made first in virgin plastic, then it was made in recycled plastic, and the new ones are made in post-consumer recycled plastic. So they always try to, improve even the material.
So sometimes you still have to participate in the enhancing.
Yeah, like for Hey, for instance, the colors they could make in recycled plastic were not the same as the virgin colors. So you always have to do some small design choices.
So a project is like never done.
Or it's done and then it ends its life and then it's replaced by a new product. But we love to, do something that you can keep for a long time.
Yeah, of course. I'm gonna keep it for a long time.
Please.
I found interesting about your design style is that you said it's optimistic. It's not a very regular word, design style. What does it specifically mean when you say optimistic design?
I think we have this common taste of functionalism and functional products, but if you look at an object only this side of functional, it's sometimes a bit boring. For us, it's a way to work on an object, to keep its functional side, but having something, as you said, that you can bring into your home and that make your life maybe more happier.
Okay. Is that why you kind of use bright colors in your design? Or it just like comes from your intuition?
Maybe the colors, it's the more obvious tricks to make it enjoyable, but also when we are working on the formal aspect, we said we work geometric things, but the way you put them together will make it more appealing or not.
So in order to deliver that optimistic feeling or the message in your design process, is there some phase that you particularly like focus on to make it more fun or happier or bright? Or
No, we don't do optimistic meeting or as you understood, it's very organic, our method of work. And I think it's also one of the assets is that it's completely not structured the way that we work within the studio. In that way also, when we work with big companies where they have to be structured and have specific meetings, we bring a bit of that freshness to the meeting. So we get a lot of times, to go to brainstormings or stuff like that with big companies, and we feel that sometimes when you're in a big organization, you get a bit of tunnel vision, like this is phase number 2.5, and then we come up and we're like, and then it adds a bit of freshness. And the word optimistic is the best word. It's just a word that we found.
And we always have questions about it, so
yeah, maybe that's a good idea.
That's a good idea.
It's our discussion word.
When I saw through your website, the feeling I received was that most of your designs are very bold and simple, maybe because of the bold chair, I don't know, which is very beautiful, but at the same time, it doesn't look very complicated in details. Of course, there should be details hidden somewhere in order to bring up that simpleness. That also has a risk of looking low in quality. Not that your work does, but when you try to receive something too simple, then you might not get to a level of quality. So my question was, how do you make something very simple and high quality at the same time? Like, is it the material or like?
So, the way I read it is a bit like a Swiss design culture also is, it's not about decoration so much. Like this building is a good example. It's very beautiful and very noticeable architecture, but there's no decoration elements. It's all the structure, the grid, and that makes it beautiful. And that's a bit what we aim for, is that I think we never design decoration for things. And so that's when you say, okay, then the risk is that it looks maybe too simple. I don't think we've ever told ourselves that something was too simple.
Okay.
It's a bit like, minimalistic art, like Donald Judd or something, where it's very basic, but there's a beauty in that, maybe.
So I guess you have to really work on like the structure, like how to make it like really firm and like really usable, but still keep it simple.
Yeah, because beauty can come from the proportions, not necessarily for the complexity.
You ask on the question materials, you mentioned that, and maybe the example of this building, as Augustine said, is exactly that. You are meeting different materials, but really well designed with good proportion, and that's make it quite exceptional. But this kind of wood is not the cheapest wood that you can find, but really well used. It's perfect.
And the detail, like even the flooring here, you can see that, yes, it's a very simple way of laying out the flooring, but there's an alignment, one every two slabs.
Again, a design process is like endless. You can basically design forever. So when do you know? This was actually a question from the audience. When do you know when to stop? Like when do you know, okay, this is it?
It's really easy. You have to look on your schedule when it's the meeting. So
Deadlines.
That's it.
Okay.
Yes, deadlines.
Yeah, it's very inspirational, I know. But again.
No, but and anyway, when you design, it's never something that happens in our bubble. It's always in collaboration with the company.
Oh, okay.
So you can never, the client plays such an important role that it's in collaboration with them. But sometimes it's true that it happens that some clients are really pushy and we have to be ready. And other clients are they would like to research a lot. And sometimes it's us that are a bit pushy. We're like, okay, it's good. No, just do it.
No more sketches.
That's it. It's perfect.
Is your your work like 100% client work, or do you also have your own project?
It depends, because sometimes of course we answer briefs when we get requests from clients, and usually this is very structured and very precise. And sometimes there are also clients that we have a more loose relationship. It's like at the beginning, so then we design stuff with them in mind, but it's not super answering a brief. It's almost like self-initiated. There's both in the studio. And we try to keep enough space for that, because we notice that if you have only answering the brief, then you lose a bit of that freshness. It's good to be able to try things and, I have an idea, let's try it.
That story was interesting. It wasn't on the presentation, but they made owls out of wooden blocks. You can find them on their website, and it's very cute. It's just like wooden blocks with glow-in-the-dark eyes. And when I saw them, what is this? And then what you told me was that you just had time to do anything, and you went to a wood workshop and just picked up some wood pieces and then put eyes on them and made them as objects.
Yes, and it was around Christmas time, and we had nothing to do, so we were like, okay, let's take some leftover wood, and then we just cut some shapes. Even we just cut the top and the bottom, so it was irregular shape. And
like
then
owls.
Yeah, exactly. And then we drilled 2 holes for the eyes, and then we put some glow-in-the-dark thing inside, and then we had a Christmas sale at the studio. And,
oh, it's so cute.
But it's just a piece of wood and just very simple.
Did you sell them all?
Yeah, this edition was sold out almost completely, and then it got into production for a French company.
Oh wow!
The one you have on the website, you mentioned the product
yes,
made
the manufactured
after
ones.
the first history.
It's a very nice story, actually. So almost 20 years when I was freshman in university. So you are like a living witness of the change of the industry, because it actually changed a lot in the recent 10, 20 years. What would you claim the biggest change was in the design industry?
Maybe it's not direct connected to the industry, but in the studio, in the process of making mock-ups, it changed a lot with the 3D printers. Now it's easy to buy for everyone. I can see also, I think Augustine too, when we're teaching, students come in 1 hour with a mock-up made in plastic. Also at the studio it changed a lot, because when we try ideas, we always have to make mock-ups to see, even though we know really well the 3D program, if you don't touch and feel the shapes, it's impossible to know if it works or not. And now making a mock-ups, it's maybe 2 or 3 hours, even a complicated one. So that's changed a lot.
Yeah, and the student at ECAL now, they have a computer and they have a 3D printer on their desk. It's
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's almost normal.
But doesn't that drive the design output to be computer based? Before when you make things by hand, you come to a point where you didn't plan before.
There are a lot of things that they don't plan with 3D printing because I think half of it is broken or not printed properly. But I think it's very hybrid. It's just another tool, just like you would cut with a knife or just.
So it's more practical in a way.
About the industry also, communication has changed a lot. When we started, there was a lot of print, so we got a lot of articles in magazines, for instance.
Yes.
And now this has almost completely disappeared. There's only a few big magazines, but everything else is online. So, for instance, we have Muto, the Danish brand. They came to our studio to do some videos, but they immediately did it vertical for Instagram. They don't even shoot normal; they just shoot vertical, which is for us it's a bit surprising, to take all this energy and money to do a film for Instagram. It's interesting that the evolution.
When you started the studio, there was no Instagram.
No, absolutely
no
not.
YouTube, right?
No, not even. It was you would get a magazine. Somebody would tell you, "Hey, you have an article in an Italian newspaper." And you're like, wow! And then you could never see it. You had to call them. They're like, "No, we don't send it to you."
Okay, but that means you can promote yourself now.
Yeah, you have direct contact. It's easier in that sense, and it's also more easy to connect with people who have the same interest as you. Whereas before it was you had to find a producer and then get it on the market.
Design and Design Boom and and all those. But that also means there's lots of competition. Are you glad that you began 19 years ago? You've been there, done that.
Yeah, I mean, the competition, we are all teaching. So we're also, it's like, we never think of it as like competition, like they're gonna take our work or whatever. It's more time where there's so much creativity, both for designers, but also for entrepreneurs, new ideas, creating new products. This also makes it easier to, find someone of your age who's interested in trying something, and then you can start a new venture together. We see a lot of students that when they come out of their diploma, their project is to do something with an entrepreneur. We have an intern at the studio. Her diploma project was directly with an entrepreneur, so she's doing this on the side and an internship at our place. But it's almost like you create your own job, You don't have to look for a job, you create your own.
So then that leads to the next question. Attitude should a designer have in order to cope with such increasing change? When you see your students, what would you tell them?
Obviously, just talk about students who work directly with entrepreneur for their diploma, but now I can also see that designers themselves go and create a brand to promote their proper design, and this is also a big change now. And for us who are in the industry maybe 19 years, it's really dynamic because now we met really brand new brands. As Ago, we met, they just began 5 years ago. It's really young company, but with a lot of energy, and I think for us it make it really dynamic.
I think our sort of advice would be also to go out and meet people. I think it's such an important thing. And when you're a designer, it's not always natural to come and meet people. Sometimes you like to be by yourself and design stuff. I know that for us it's good that we are 3 people because, when you come somewhere and somebody's a bit shy and the 2 other, they can push him and go speak to him.
Who's the shy one? I can't tell.
Oh.
But you're doing great.
I'm Swiss. Usually people say that Swiss are really humble, but we are really shy. That's the problem.
Is that a Swiss thing?
I'm not sure, but I'm
Okay. There was a big questionnaire that we received from the audience. Do you think that a whole brand new type of design exists?
For us, at least, when we think about a topic, we always reuse elements of, is it maybe a design detail, maybe something from an old memory, maybe a reference from a color or from an old object that looked a bit like this, and we take a detail. And it's very rare that we create something like it's a white piece of paper and you take your pen and you're like, brand new, never existed. There's always, maybe it comes from this and that.
We saw also in different contexts, maybe with fashion now, the people who can make a pullover, you say, without plastic is like something exceptional. But if you look 50 years ago, it was totally normal. So I think we now, maybe more than ever, we have to look on the past because there were intelligence that we lose, I think, with some technologies past 20, 30 years.
Okay. Yeah, it seems like you think something is new, but then it's been there like decades ago.
Yeah.
I can imagine you in the morning, you go to the office, you open your email, and there's like 20 collaboration emails that want to work with you. No?
Every day.
But of course, you can't say yes to all the emails. So how do you choose the right partner or the right project? You seem to work again and again with your prior partner.
I think it's a question of feeling. As we said, the best collaboration we have with clients is made about a good relationship. And the relationship become when you receive the first email, you look at the brand, you look at the philosophy, you look who are in charge of the brand, and if it match with, and if you have a common language with them, you have a lot of chance to make something good.
And we also like brands that are specialists. We really like, if somebody comes and they say, okay, we have a really good skill, it's this one, that's good. Usually we like that.
Like Karimoku and Nespresso, and they're very specialized in one field. And I guess you kind of get the feeling that they understand your work, like they understand big game and they want your...
I think that's, at the beginning it was very hard because when you begin, you don't have a very defined language, so people ask you sometimes things that you don't really like. So, but for us now, because we've been working a little bit, actually a long time, then people know what we can do, and so we get less design briefs that are a bit like, why do you ask us to make a highly decorative Swarovski crystal decoration?
But sometimes the problem is the opposite, because they have seen something really bold, maybe the bold chair, and they really want the same.
You can't copy yourself.
Yeah, that's why you have to come up with new designs sometimes.
Then how did you become partners with Agoraiting?
How?
Yeah, that's the whole point of this talk.
It's about meetings, but I think we met first time in Milano. It was, if I remember well, at exhibition. I was really tired. Maybe I drank too much beers, and Mars came and said, "Hello, I'm Mars. I'm from Ago, new brand from Korea." We exchanged cards and you sent us an email. That was the beginning. Maybe the most problem we had these past years with the new meetings we had, it's about COVID. After that, we had to discuss by email and with Google Teams and Meet. But now that's also the reason why we are really happy to be here. It's to celebrate a little bit all this kind of collaboration we have, because it's a really nice collaboration, and we don't see each other as much as we want.
So he actually approached to you. I thought maybe you were friends before, but okay, it was totally a business thing. But both of your Probe and Chateau, they both have a triangular, like pyramid shape. Why?
A probe is it's this idea you have a light source, and then it's either a very small, very precise, compact triangle, and it's also, we like that it's, when you see it, you sort of you read the function, you imagine it's, and then the other one, it's really like almost like the light beam is materialized in glass.
It's like a drawing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's a bit like a children's drawing, yes. And Chateau is a bit more, it looks a bit like a space object or a satellite or something.
Ah, you didn't like, it wasn't intended, but it ended to look like a...
It's all about references we have. Every time we remember an object that we really like that was made by Muji, I think 10 years ago. It's a small object that looks like a Sputnik. Maybe, I don't know, it's not a direct reference, but it's something that we always have in mind. And
now that I think about it, maybe it's because Mars?
Mars?
The planet?
Because his name is Mars.
Yes, maybe that's the reason. I don't remember.
You know, his Korean name means Mars.
Really?
Yeah, that's why he's Mars.
Okay.
The game is very fun. I realized today. Ago is actually not an ordinary brand. It's not like Mars one day decides to make a company. They also, Ago was born from a collaboration, a project, and then it kind of settled as a brand. That means they're also collaborating. Mars is a creative director who lives in Stockholm, and the manufacturer is in Korea, Uchiro. So was there any difference in working with Ago compared to other companies, or it didn't affect at all?
I think it was very particular because it happened during COVID. So first of all, everything was different. But we had some exchanges that were also, because it's quite technical object, and the way they are done, very into the detailing, is also very special. But everything happened online, and so that was the specificity. But it's not mainly about Ago. It's more about the context.
The circumstances. But you didn't meet in Europe
before the first prototypes. I think we never met.
Oh wow, such a connected world we're living in.
Yes.
You can do anything online. Is there a difference working with Korean companies compared to other nationalities? Are we like really pushy, or?
So one difference from, because we have a really long experience in Japan with Karimoku, who worked with Muji for a really long time. I think a big difference is the speed here, multiplied by 5 at least. And also...
My apologies.
no, it's good. It's really good, right? You're much faster. And also another thing that we really appreciate about Korea is that you are very direct, and that's very enjoyable because when you work in Japan, we compare to Japan, but it's very difficult to know what they really think.
You have to read.
Yes.
You have to wait. You have to wait.
And there are code words when you say, it's difficult. It means no. Whereas in Korea, it's more like
no is
yes,
no.
Exactly.
But you lived in China for several years. Did you grow up in China, or?
Yeah, from like 0 to 16.
Wow. So you speak native Chinese?
我会说中国话。
Oh my god. 못 알아듣겠어요. I don't understand. So then, oh wow, then you have experience with all like the Far East Asian countries, and that probably was a good experience in working with Asian companies, or
I don't know, because it's so different, you know, like China, especially in the 80s, it's a different context than Japan now.
Okay.
You know? Maybe
That was a bad
sometime-
question. I almost looked like non-Asian.
No, but sometimes you see a Chinese character and you can understand the meaning. That could be helpful sometimes.
In language, it helps.
In the metro too.
Okay. Oh yeah, true. You know where to go. What would you advise to young designers who wants to open their design studio one day? Because probably a few of them, it's like their one day dream to become like the big game of Korea. What would you advise?
Meeting people, I think it's the most important. It's like, it's all about meeting. For us, it's like we met each other, that's the beginning. And then it's a discipline where you cannot do everything by yourself. And I guess even if you compare it to architecture, for instance, where, you know, you're an architecture studio and there's a very precise way of doing things, you get a competition and then somebody builds it. With design, it's much more fluid. It could be, you could be at the beginning where you have an idea, or you could come with somebody who has an idea and he doesn't know how to put it in shape. So it's really, you have to be there. We got some briefs just by being there, actually, you know, just, hey, do you want to do something?
Also, we can say to students to continue to be curious. We said that we have a lot of things to learn by the past, and you also ask if something is possible to be completely brand new, and that's what we said to our students is maybe you don't have to find something totally new, but make better, be curious, and continue to be curious.
It's a good message for all of us, like even like non-designers. Okay. Oh wow, I learned a lot today. Especially your I don't know if that's the right word, but your like attitude is like very refreshing in a way. So it was really fun to meet you.